Hello, my name is Shoddy Sniper, here with Burris,
Hello there.
and this is a new show, Counterattack, where we will be revisiting games that one of us didn't necessarily like or maybe just felt pretty neutral on, and one of us liked, and just sort of discussing the differences there. So this week is Mass Effect, which is a game that Burris, I believe you herald as quite a good game, right?
It's pretty amazing.
Um, I didn't dislike it. I was just pretty neutral on it. I'd like to open with that, so nobody gets up in arms. I would give it like a 5 out of 10, or would have. And that's sort of what we'll be discussing, whether
And you mean
it
like a
changes.
fair 5 out of 10, not like a 5 out of 10, what most people consider 5 out of 10.
Oh,
Which
right,
is
yeah,
just
like a
terrible.
fair 5 out of 10. Like, this was an average game. I wouldn't not replay it, but it's not at the top of my priority list, you know?
I can see that. That makes sense.
Okay. So we're gonna, I think you said we're gonna start with the negatives, old thoughts, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So it had been a while since I played this, so it was hard to remember everything. Um, and I will say I only played for about 5 hours. So I did the tutorial, did Citadel stuff running around there, and I went to get Liara. I think that's about where I stopped when I started playing. And so one of my biggest things that I had an issue with this game, I didn't like the controls. Um, and I've heard both sides. Some people were like, well, the keyboard and mouse controls are better, so you really have to play it on PC. And some people were like, the controller controls are better, so you should have played it on Xbox 360. I don't know where you land on the controls, but I really didn't like
PC
them.
is PC is much better. The one thing I will agree with you on is that I had some trouble, specifically with the vehicle.
Oh, the
Which
Mako. I'm glad you said that because that is like the biggest one. The handling is just so weird.
Yeah, so the strange thing is, and there's a few other games that are like this. I would consider Battlefield also like this,
Yeah, a bit.
uh, where when you're running around, the mouse was king, but when you're in the vehicle, the keyboard and mouse, or isn't the keyboard and mouse is not really as good as the controller.
Yeah. Yeah, but as well as that, um, not reloading is fine, but it really, really messed with me that grenade was bound to R. So I was constantly like, I'd
I
shoot an
mean,
enemy and lob a grenade.
speaking from past experience, I think you can change that
No, no,
somehow.
you can. I'm just looking at the base controls right now. Obviously, I did
Yeah.
change stuff, but just the default was odd to me, the scheme. And a lot of it was pretty
Yeah.
standard, but like, um, so inventory being bound to I is it something a lot of games do. I don't really ever like it. I think I is too far away for a game where you're using WASD and the mouse.
Okay, I have to interject here and just say this one completely off-topic thing.
Hmm.
In that I've been playing the newest Deus Ex,
Hmm.
and the H is holstered.
Oh,
Like there's no other way. The H is holstered.
see, that's the stuff I'm talking
So
about.
if you're walking around the city, you literally have to press H if you accidentally click or press any button at all. And of course, H is right next to G, which is bound to grenade.
Right.
And I think if it was R, perhaps I wouldn't have hit the grenade as
Hmm.
often. So, as a positive note, I would just say that.
Yeah, but like Mass Effect has a lot of right half keybinds. You have I for inventory, J for journal, and U is your level up screen, I believe. And again, all of it's changeable, but it's just an odd choice to me.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't really want to harp on the controls because they were changeable, so it's a little unfair.
Especially for PC. I
Yeah.
mean, your point stands for 360.
Hmm.
That's all the consoles it was ever on. 360, I can totally agree with you on that, and that the controls weren't up to snuff.
Hmm.
But I think that during the time of its release, really, uh, specifically RPGs, etc. Just there was almost none. I think there was just Oblivion before it as an RPG at all, and that didn't necessarily have the greatest controls in my eyes. So
Yeah, I mean, RPGs always have at least one weird control where you're like, what are they doing here? What's their goal?
they must have been smoking crack.
But that's all I want to say on that. Another thing, probably the big reason why I couldn't get into Mass Effect is I didn't find the story that gripping in the early game, and I didn't want to have to commit, 8, 10, or however many hours it takes for me to give a shit about the story.
I have to completely disagree with you there. However, I will say another positive is that I didn't think the game was that long. Like when you consider other RPGs,
Yeah, I've heard the first one is shorter.
it's 35, 40 hours total.
Yeah.
You should be able to do most side quests, etc. just on 35, 40 hours, which I think is totally reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of the reason I didn't like it early on, and this is another one of my points, is it's pretty tropey early on, which is fairly standard BioWare game.
True, I'll give you that.
There's some tropey stuff, but like you're the greatest commander, you're a hero among your people, and you're the chosen one because you're the chosen one, and there's this guy who's very clearly evil, and like he rolls up and does some evil shit, and nobody believes you because even though you're this hero and the chosen one, why would they fucking believe you? And he's a good guy. You go get the fucking evidence, and it's like, oh, turns out the guy who you look up to, he was also a chosen one, basically. Or he was special in the same way. He obviously he's not the grand sort of chosen by the whatever the race was called. I can't remember, but he was, what's the guy's name? The admiral or whatever who was supposed to be a Spectre.
Akbar.
No, whatever. The other guy was supposed to be a Spectre as well. Is my point. And it's very common sort of tropey stuff, which BioWare does. Dragon Age also has the Chosen One story in literally every game.
I will say Dragon Age Origins doesn't necessarily have it that bad at all.
It's the lightest, but BioWare is very, very big on their Chosen One trope.
I don't know. Have you played Jade Empire?
Stand by.
I have not played Jade Empire.
Decontamination.
You are the chosen
progress.
of like the
Commander,
what do you
you
call
look-
it? The teacher's chosen, but
suffering
beyond
any
that,
ill
no one
effects
gives
from
a
the cipher?
fuck about you. Which I think is
Cypher
pretty
shook
cool.
me up.
Yeah.
I might
Um,
be able to help you. I am an expert.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a little
If I
tropey,
join
and it was hard
my
for me to
consciousness to yours, maybe we can
hard
make
for me to
some
get
sense
into.
of it.
Another issue I had,
We don't
I
have much
remembered
time.
having, was scenery would load oddly sometimes. Like textures wouldn't quite make it in
Relax,
immediately, and then they'd have to load after.
Embrace
It's
eternity.
not a huge deal, but it's like it's this slight twinge of annoyance when you're looking at the mesh without the texture.
I will say that is just a quirk of Unreal Engine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at any game during that
was
time made with the Unreal Engine.
incredible.
Obviously,
this
Unreal
time, all
Tournament
my
3,
research,
which I
yet
think is a terrible
I never
game.
dreamed. I am
Gears of
sorry.
War
The
1,
images were so vivid.
The Last
I
Remnant
never
were all made on
imagined
that
the experience
like
would be
initial
so
build of Unreal Engine
intense.
3, and
You
it was just
are
so terrible
remarkably
because it
strong-willed,
happened all the
Commander.
time. And I'll totally give
What
you
you
that.
have been through, what
Fair
you have
point.
seen would have destroyed
But
a
anyway.
lesser mind.
Yeah.
Come on,
Another issue I had,
What did you see?
and again, this is sort of a sign of the time in the game, but AI was not good. Enemy AI or friendly AI, I don't approve of it, basically. Some wonky shit going on. Enemies will just walk up to you, even if they're like, the regular Geth that can't do anything against you. Yeah, I don't know. It's just
Sometimes. It's definitely a cover shooter. in that
yeah,
respect.
no, for sure. But just that, I don't know. There's just some weird AI stuff. My team felt ineffective unless I was doing the hold spacebar and giving commands. Otherwise, it's just me.
Yeah.
And the last thing I could remember from playing it was. And again, this is a thing that happens commonly in RPGs, but dialogue options being non-unique, but having the appearance of unique.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a gimme though. That's every RPG.
Not
I would
always.
think that's like basically their own selves.
But like even amongst the the Paragon Renegade and neutral options, it's like you achieve the same thing. It's just if you want to be an asshole, is basically what goes on.
Listen, I always want to be an asshole. Why wouldn't you want?
I did Paragon, but like to give a sort of generic example, it's like, hey you, I need these reports, or it's like, where are my reports, or why the fuck don't you have my reports done? What you're useless piece of shit. It's like,
Yes.
either
Number
way,
3, please.
you get the reports.
You can't do this, John.
Another thing, I don't know if I was noticing this correctly with the dialogue.
What's going on?
This isn't an
You
old
won't
thing,
get
but
away with this.
I talked about it. It's not on my list, so I might as well bring it up now.
Get away
when
from her,
you-
son of a bitch!
Usually there's 3 dialogue options, right? You know, there's presumably Paragon,
Um,
Neutral, Renegade, or a lot of times
I would
there's 3.
disagree, but yeah.
For some reason, it seemed to me that the first one was always Paragon, the middle one was always Neutral, and the bottom one was always Renegade. And I can understand doing that,
We can talk this out.
but I didn't
Nobody
necessarily
needs
like
to get
it
hurt.
because I thought it'd be better if there was no clear what this is, and you just
This is
respond
a
how
human
you
colony,
think
John.
you
can't
should,
just
or if you're,
repurpose
role
us.
playing your character how you think your character would.
It's not just you.
My rebuttal to
There's
that is
something
simply,
here far more
I
valuable than
don't
a
know. I
fucking
kind of like
colonist.
it to be very. It's obvious, but at the same time, like.
You're after the one unique thing
And
Pharaoh's
this
has.
goes into a point that I'm gonna make, but I think the
The what?
chat options are
It's
actually
a
better
telepathic
than
life
most
form
of
living
what
under
Bioware
Zeus'
does today.
It's taking control of
So
the
I'll
colonists
give you
there.
that
We're
obvious is
following you
good,
all along.
but only if they go
You
full
won't get away
blown.
with this, John.
So you keep saying, but nobody's gonna miss a few colonists.
I don't know. I prefer it to what they did in something like Dragon Age 2 and even Inquisition. I haven't played Andromeda yet, but
You've gone way
obviously
too
I can't
far.
wait to see some
This
of those
ends
animations.
If that's the way it
But yeah, I
has to
mean,
be,
I just would have
heck,
preferred if
come on,
they,
come on.
if they were gonna be obvious with it, just mark it so it's entirely obvious.
Yeah, I don't know.
As if we
That's
don't
all I have to
enough
say with my
problems.
old
Now
thoughts,
we're
though.
shooting
So
each
unless
other
you
in the
have
back.
All right.
some rebuttal
It's
against
my
any of
fault.
those, or if you just
I
want to
knew
dive
what
into
was
yours.
going on, and I didn't
I
do
basically
anything.
rebutted mine.
Don't you
I feel
start.
like the
You do
best of
good
my
work,
ability.
And you know it.
Take it away.
So what
Okay,
now,
so
Commander?
when I had first heard
I'll go
about
with
Mass
Thorian,
Effect, it wasn't
then
through a
make sure you're safe.
newspaper or
The
an
colonists won't
advertisement
leave
or
the
anything of
Thorian.
that sort.
They die
I actually
first.
just
They're under its
walked
control.
into Target and I
What
picked
else
up
am I supposed to do?
Mass Effect
There's gotta
on
be
PC.
another way.
And the only reason I thought about, maybe I should get this game is
I
because it
think
had
there
Bioware on it.
is. You could
Okay.
say there was a
I had
nerve
played,
agent to neutralize
Knights
the
of
colonists.
The Old Republic
Like a
1
gas
and
grenade.
2. And even though, 2 wasn't made
Releasing
by
clouds of nerve
Bioware,
gas doesn't seem like a particularly good idea.
it still felt like, hey, this
It's
could be
not
like
like
the
it's weapons
spiritual
grade.
successor
The
of
insecticide
Knights of
we
the
use
Old
in the grow
Republic,
lab
which I've always
contains trace
wanted.
amounts of tetrachlorine,
Because
a
those
neuromuscular
games are
deterrent.
amazing to me.
If their nervous systems
Um,
are already weakened, it may act as a
So I
paralyzing
decided
agent.
to, fuck it, I'm gonna buy this.
Dodgy.
So I brought
But
home
it
Mass
just
Effect and
might
it
work.
barely ran on my computer. It did not look good, and all
Sounds
the
good.
all the
I'll do what I
texture
can.
things you're talking about, hell yeah,
Excellent.
like that was
Thank you so
definitely an
much,
issue. I
Commander.
specifically remember like looking at the Citadel for the first time and having like each ship individually like load the textures from like very low quality up to like medium quality because I couldn't run it on high. And I was just still enthralled by the game itself. Like, oh wow, that's so exciting. I think the options for like the choices at the beginning of the game, really let you feel like you could be just like some guy, or you could make yourself feel like I am the most important person.
That's kind of funny because actually, one of my new thought complaints is against those options in the beginning.
Well, this is an old thought.
No, I know. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's funny.
Yeah. So, I remember each little thing in the dialogue. After I remember when you could first romance different characters, And I remember going back to separate saves to like see which one I liked the most, which is something that is kind of harder to do with some of the newer Bioware games. But I remember at the time, just yes, this is awesome. I can like kind of try before I buy, before I go to the next part. I like the fact that you could go to like different missions in the game. It's obviously it's linear, but it feels pretty open in the fact that you can go to different places whenever you want. Even though the story is pretty linear, I definitely remember not liking the Mako missions, but enjoying them nonetheless, just because of their difficulty at times. I remember the choice you have to make between different characters, who lives and who dies, being really like emotional for young me, like, oh no, who am I gonna choose? It's so sad. Oh no. And I like the fact that you choose like which one. I don't know why, but there's a moment where you have to choose between two characters, and I went to go choose one character, and I think like for some reason they like ask you again later, like, where do you want to go? Like, who do you want to save? And you're like, oh shit, like this for real. And that kind of again threw me for a loop. I liked some of the twists that happened along the way. Specifically, I will say I did not enjoy the combat. I don't think there's really a BioWare game where I have enjoyed the combat. Even the newer BioWare games, they don't scream like this is really fun combat. Inquisition was the first one to like just not have any issues in my eyes, other than maybe Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 having some other issues, which kind of clouded it. Just before I replayed it, I'll say, specifically, compared to the other Mass Effects, I remember it being the most story heavy, and there to be the most choices made throughout the game. So obviously, not at the beginning, but later on, I felt like there were so many choices you could make regarding your choices that you made at the beginning on who you were. There are various characters who kind of come into the circle, which are based on what choice you made. So like if you picked the lone survivor, you found someone else who's like calling you a coward, and you find out like, oh, there's this organization called Cerberus that like basically lost us the battle on purpose. If you pick lone survivor, I didn't pick the other choices, so I wouldn't know at the time. As well as like if you picked, I think I picked all your parents die and everyone in the colonist choice, and there's a child that you meet who is actually like your friend growing up, who's like crazy now because PTSD, etc. Which I thought was really cool that they just added this moment in, and even though it wasn't like a major part of the story, just the fact that it was added in there at all. If you take like KOTOR, for example, it didn't really have anything like that where you could kind of choose your destiny, even though you could choose between Sith and Jedi in Knights of the Old Republic. They didn't have anything quite like that, and I felt like that added a lot to the game. One of the last things I'll say is I was definitely disappointed at the prospect of Mass Effect when I first picked it up. I wanted KOTOR 3, but I think what I got was more than what I thought I wanted. That makes sense.
Please log
Yeah, that
in
makes sense.
to access your profile.
Yeah,
Profile
that's about
reconstruction.
it.
Please log
Cool
in to
thoughts.
access your
Okay.
profile.
So with
Please log
new,
in
I'll
to
start
access
with
your
the
profile.
pre-service history since you talked on it. I thought they should have made it more clear the bonuses you got from what you picked. Because my first time playing,
Warning.
I didn't,
Data
I don't look up
corruption
anything up the first
detected.
time I play a game, because I don't
True
want to
enough.
spoil anything. So I had no idea
Please reconstruct profile.
that there were these Paragon or Renegade
Confirm
point
pre-service
bonuses
history.
tied to these pre-service history elements. With the second tier, which is Soul Survivor, War Hero, or Ruthless, it becomes more obvious if you put some thought into it. But not knowing that this was a thing going into the game, I had no way of knowing that this was going to be an element. But with particularly the first tier, which is Spacer Earthborn Colonist, it doesn't really
Confirm
make it clear
psychological profile.
that these are going to be point assignment values, and I didn't really like that was sort of hidden. So you don't have to be able to optimize your character your first run through, but I think it's nice if you're going to roleplay a certain alignment that you can do that effectively.
I don't know. I kind of like hidden stats myself.
But it's not really a hidden stat. Everything tied to Paragon Renegade you can see except that bonus.
Yeah, maybe.
Confirm military
So if you were
specialization.
someone who didn't look it up, even across multiple playthroughs, you might not even notice, because if you pick something else and you do a mission, you're like, huh, that's odd, I got less points this time. And you don't necessarily know why that is. You could just think maybe there's, like, say you did Paragon your first playthrough, Renegade your second playthrough, with the same or a similar profile, so that you got a nearly the same bonus. So your first character has a really good Paragon bonus, and then your second character is neutral leaning Paragon, and you're Renegade playing it. So you're like, oh, I only got like half a Renegade point or one Renegade point. But last time I got 2 Paragon points, so maybe I was supposed to pick Paragon for that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'll agree with you on some of that. I mean, I'm not really into like optimizing my character for Paragon, because I think if you're playing through the game, if you pick Paragon options, you're going to get eventually full Paragon.
Yeah.
But I think what I will agree with that's annoying, and what it's one of my points, is the fact that you can't just do, like, let's say you're really good, you can't just do a malicious deed. It might just be grayed out.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think some of my favorite characters from like television series, etc., are like really good, and then they just do something completely fucking ridiculous, and then just go right back to doing good stuff. Like it almost never happened. You're like, what? That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something that, like, they kind of have it, but the fact that there are like hidden conversation things for you being more of an asshole, I think you should just be able to be an asshole when you want to,
Yeah. Another thing I ran into replaying it now, I cannot believe I did not have an issue with this in my old playthrough, and I didn't, I didn't remember this or anything. The sprint in this game is fucking awful. It's so bad.
You know why you didn't have an issue with it?
Why's that?
Because that was what was popular at the time.
Was it?
The big booming, motion back and forth,
Yeah.
everything like that.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, it's so just not good at all. Like, it's really
The motion
really bad.
blur, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, I start playing and I sprint and I was like, what just happened?
Ugh, please
What?
stop.
Another thing, when I loaded it up, there's this setting in the options, film grain, that's turned on by default. Who the fuck wants that option on?
I guess they were going for their own style, but I will agree it was pretty terrible.
Like, I just
that it was enabled. I think it took me a couple days before I was like, what is this shit? And then I like went into the graphics options and I was like, film grain looks like shit. And I just turned it off. Why would you want it on?
yeah.
It's just some little shitty post effect added to your video that makes it look worse.
Yeah, it was super weird. Yeah, I don't I don't get that at all.
Well, again, to go back to Deus Ex, but not this Deus Ex in particular, Human Revolution added that yellow tint, if you remember. And I
Yeah.
also believe, was it Battlefield 3 or 4 that had the blue tint added?
I believe that was 4.
Oh, might have been 3.
Maybe.
But I remember that tint just being really annoying as well.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about for sure. definitely odd. I have the buggy written down again. Apparently, I really didn't like that buggy.
Mako.
Yeah, Mako. There is actually one thing to the positive of the buggy, but it's too far to the positive. That thing is an XP machine. Like, it's so easy to level up in that buggy as long as there's enemies around.
I'll agree with that.
Because it's just
But
like,
I
it's
also-
two cannon shots, basically.
I remember the crazy physics of the buggy.
Yeah.
Kind of the positive as well.
Yeah.
Like as much as I hated the physics of it, like when it just went wonky as fuck, I loved it. So
It's too much, too susceptible for me for, like, going off an edge if you're going too fast and take a turn, which is really annoying for me.
however, I mean, most of the time that doesn't result in like a death or something. You just kind of like flip over.
Yeah, but there were some deaths, and I was like, I have to go back to
Wherever
my-
you save.
wherever I saved
there's really
last.
there's not really a good auto save.
Yeah, the autosave is bad. That's another point. Man, the first time I died, I was like, holy shit.
But you got to think this is what we went through just
Yeah.
10 years ago. This game was almost 11 years now. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely my fault.
It's only been, but it's only been, you know, that far, and yet these things are just like, oh God, remember this?
Yeah.
I remember multiple times in different games dying at different points and just, I quit.
Mhm.
Like just actually audibly saying I quit and then never playing the game again. You know, to be fair, those games were good. I just remember getting 10 hours into a game and dying and there being no autosave or the autosave was broken,
Not in the middle of a fight.
etc. And just I'm done.
But you can't even really say it's old games exclusively, because even Skyrim has a terrible autosave system.
Isn't it just like whenever you enter?
Yeah, if you
A new zone.
sleep,
Let's move
enter a zone, or level up, I think. Those are the three autosave parameters. So if you're just walking around in the wilderness, going to a point, it doesn't matter if you kill 1,000 enemies and slay 100 dragons. If you die before you reach that point and walk in a fucking door, you're back to where you started.
It's amazing. I will give you one example of kind of like a negative to that, in saying a lot of games, specifically like RTSs, will have a really weird autosave where it just randomly does it about every minute,
Yeah, it's on the timer.
and it kind of like freezes the game.
yeah, no, absolutely.
And you know, you obviously don't want your save to impact the gaming performance.
Yeah,
So there's this interesting kind of divide there, I feel like, where you definitely have to have an autosave, but when is it a good time to actually autosave? You know?
yeah.
And
It's
I
definitely a
think
trade-off.
I think while the autosave wasn't great in Mass Effect, it did exist somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I should have just autosaved more often. I didn't like that you couldn't save if there was an enemy in the vicinity.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
It's a little annoying, because I'd like to save before a fight, and I walk too far and I can no longer save, so it's like, great, now if I die, I don't get to go back to where I wanted to. I have to go back further. Slightly annoying there.
True.
I mentioned leveling up in the Mako particular being easy. In general, I felt leveling up was a little too easy. I feel like I got really strong really fast. Like, I got a lot of upgrade points, and because I was specializing in pistols, I was playing Infiltrator, and I
So
was like,
did
I don't want to be...
Oh, you made a mistake.
Did I?
Vanguard is by far the best class every time.
I was just thinking,
Without-
I want one of the hybrid classes, and if I
Yeah.
continue to play, I like the, I liked what the Infiltrator was hybrid for, so...
I will say Vanguard. I think it is a hybrid class, but it's got this really interesting skill set of like moving around that makes it a more mobile class. Specifically, being able to just like fucking jump at enemies, like hit them and they go down. Like, yeah, I'm unstoppable. Even though you weren't, it was pretty decently balanced in a
Yeah.
way. Although it was the most overpowered by definition.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, it's interesting.
But yeah, so I felt I leveled up too easy. I was doing Infiltrator, which is pistols and snipers for the primary weapons. And I was like, I don't really care about sniper rifle. So I maxed out my pistol. Like, I still, on my character, have not rescued Liara. Or no, I just rescued Liara. But I had my pistols maxed out, like, at the beginning of that world. So that's like mission 3 or something like that, if you count everything. Pistols maxed out. Electronics and disruption, like, halfway. Charm is, like, a third of the way up. And it's like, I have so many points. I'm, you know, I'm getting quite a lot of bonuses already.
I mean, I don't think that's negative, necessarily a negative. I think that speaks to the length of the game, which it's not that long of a game.
And it's fine. It was just weird to me leveling up that quickly, getting all these bonuses very quickly. Another issue I had. This one's an actual issue I had that I did not like. The loot system, and the inventory system, and the UI attached to it, all suck.
The UI is not as bad as it is in console.
I'm specifically the loot UI. I'm saying. So the you can only reduce one item to Omnigel at a time. Like,
yeah.
It's very annoying only being able to reduce one. Especially since there's a take all function, so you think there'd be like there'd be a reduce all. But there's not a reduce all.
I don't know. I never really got into Omnigel because I don't do a lot of the other stuff really.
Yeah, I mean I don't care about the Omnigel. I just didn't want to have all of the crap because like I open a container and it's got like 4 weapons. I'm like, great, I have to pause, I have to figure out who needs what weapons. And it got to the point where I'm like, I just don't want to open containers. I've got this electronic skill, fuck all the containers. I don't want to open them.
Alright, any more points?
No, I think that's about it.
Alright.
The container thing bothered me so much.
To open up, I will say, a lot of your points have to do with the speed of which some of the parts of the game go. Obviously, you're big into gameplay. For me, a lot of the choices that had to be made, specifically, you know, telling your teammates where to go, I found to be more interesting than a lot of other games that have that kind of squad mechanic.
Well, I'm not saying that's a bad mechanic. I like the mechanic. I just don't like how ineffective they are if you aren't utilizing that mechanic.
Yeah, it's very much micromanagement.
Yeah.
I will agree to that, but I kind of like the micromanaging.
Yeah, I have no issue with that.
Yeah,
It's
I
good.
kind of like it, including the whole like, oh, I'm gonna choose what my other characters need, which ones I'm gonna take with me more often, because as you continue to grow your squad, obviously some characters are not going to be utilized. You're not going to find them as fun or as interesting, so you're going to kind of put them on the back burner and not use them as much. So I like that because, again, the characters, when they talk to each other, and if you have different characters, it gives you a different experience. They talk a little bit differently, and depending on what world they are, they talk. They say different things and about previous events, etc. And I think that even now is still pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. How often did you switch out your people?
To be honest, man, I love that Krogan, and I still like Ashley as a character, even though she's kind of a douchebag.
So I basically figured out who I wanted pretty much immediately. And it's funny because I had the same sort of thought process that my first character did. I landed on the same characters this time because I was like, I want one tank person and I want one
Who's your tank?
sort of DPS person who's going to be interesting. So both times I was like, I want one tank person. I picked Rex.
Clearly, I mean, Rex is the best character. If you pick any other tank person, it's kind of like...
And then I picked Ashley for my other character because she was, you know, sort of DPS and she was interesting. Both times, even though I'm like, I want one tank and I want my DPS character. Both characters, both times. When I started talking to Garrus, I was like, I want this dude. This dude's dope.
Yeah, Garrus is a really interesting character as well.
And both times I dropped Rex.
Mistake.
So both characters have no tank. And it's just me, Garrus, and Ashley on both of them.
Yeah. Rex is just, he's such an, I don't know, he's so much fun as a character.
Yeah.
But anyway, on to another topic. The graphics are fucking terrible. Holy shit. Have we gone, you know, you think jumping from one generation to another, wow, you know, like this obviously it looks better, but this is beyond that. This is kind of like those, the comparison I would make is, even though, you know, obviously there's a lot of polygons being pushed on probably Andromeda and Mass Effect. For whatever reason, like the shading was terrible. It just looks so bad. And I just gotta point out when bringing up the facial animation thing that people have been talking about with Andromeda is, and this is something I just noticed. I was watching a video of them talking about it, and I'm not trying to defend BioWare for making shitty animation in the new game. But I will say this at least. In a lot of those comparisons, they used main characters from Mass Effect, and they used just what seemed like side characters. And if they're not, then fuck, that's terrible. But they seemed like just random characters you talk to on the bridge. And to be honest, those looked even worse in Mass Effect.
Yeah, no, for sure. I see what you're saying. It's less important if there's side characters.
Yeah, I mean, similar to if you've ever played like a sports game, the characters in the stands are never going to look good. They're just not. They look
Why waste
like
your time?
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. And the more you make them look good, the more you have to down the actual essential part of the game, or at least have to not be able to. You know, you're unable to focus on the most essential part of the game, which are the main characters. However, the squatting, the weird crab walk thing is hilarious, and would probably make me want to play the game more. I'm a fan of derpy ass animation. So.
Yeah. You mentioned graphics. There's one weird thing. So this game maxes out at. Does it max out at 720?
No, there's actually, okay, here's a really interesting feature for you. The slide bar, there is none. There's just this weird button that doesn't look like it's a button. So it actually goes all the way up to 1440p on my monitor, which is 1440.
Okay.
It's just this really weird, like if you are to open up the game now and go to graphics options, when you go to the resolutions, you hit resolution and the bar comes down. Below the bar, about an inch or two below the bar, there are 3 arrows that appear, and they look like they're almost in the background. Those increase the resolution of the game. So you think like, oh, I have it on max resolution, but no.
Okay. Yeah, so I was playing on 720 and I was like, you know, I remember this opening part pretty well and I'm gonna be paying attention, and it's just like tutorial stuff, so I'm gonna watch Netflix while I do it. And so I had Netflix up on my second monitor, and because the game is in 720, my other monitor was just like, fuck, push everything to the side, burn it all, and like, got rid of it all. And like, it was just like weird, because it's trying to do the main display in 720 or whatever. I was like, oh, how fun.
She tried to manipulate Sarah. In the end,
But yeah, so if it's possible to change it, I should definitely.
sorry,
definitely
matriarchs
do
are
that.
among the most intelligent and
Yeah.
powerful beings in the galaxy.
It's funny that you
How
say
could
that
we fall under
because
Saren's control?
every time I play Mass Effect, every time I try to play it at all, I always run into that problem.
Yeah.
Always. Where I'm like, fuck, it's only like 768 or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm an idiot again. And that's usually how it goes.
But in the end, it is
yeah.
absolute. I was a willing slave when Saren brought me to this world.
Is there any other new thoughts you have?
I gotta, even though this is one of your old thoughts about the texture popping, so bad. I would love to see like a just a remastered version of this game with higher textures. And I'm pretty sure there's probably a mod out right now that fixes that.
Probably,
But
I would think.
it's just so
After he had what he wanted,
so
he ordered
unbearable,
Geth
and
to
it
destroy all
just
evidence
immediately
of his
brings you
existence.
out of
Saren
any
knows
moment
we're
you were
searching
trying to
for the
have
Conduit.
as you're like running around, and you know, like the tree just fucking pops in. It's very similar to Oblivion,
What's the
to
cipher?
where it's just
Why
like,
did
ew,
Sarah need
this
it?
looks terrible. Like the game as a whole looks decent, and then there's just parts where you're like,
Well, I mean, neither of these games, Oblivion or Mass Effect, really look decent as a whole.
yeah, anymore.
Yeah.
They both come from 2006, I want to say.
Yeah,
Or did
I
Mass
believe
Effect come out in 07? I don't remember.
I think Mass Effect was 06,
When they died,
think so.
Maybe like December. I don't know.
and
I
Oblivion's
know it
definitely
came
very
out on
close.
Xbox only, which makes me think it came out before the PS3 did.
It probably predates the.
It cannot be described
PS3.
or explained.
But yeah, it's very much noticeable that this is a early
To understand,
uh,
you must
early
have access
360
to endemic
launch,
ancestral
just by the
memory.
looks of it.
Yeah,
A
for
viewpoint
sure.
spanning thousands of Prothean generations.
I don't know.
I
Anyway,
sensed this ancestral
um,
memory, the cipher. When I melded
I'm
with
and
Thorian, our identities merged,
combat is
our
not
minds
good.
intertwined.
I mean, it's not like
Such knowledge cannot be taught.
it's not
It simply
unbearably
exists.
terrible, but it's not good.
I need that
Um,
knowledge to stop
do I
Sarah.
think that detracts from the story?
There
No.
is a way.
But what I will say is kind of my ending point
As I did with
is
Sarah.
that
Try to relax.
kind of still wish it was Knights of the Old Republic
Deep
3.
breaths. Let go of your physical shell.
Yeah, I mean,
Reach
Can't always
out
get
to
what you want.
grasp the threads that
No,
bind
not at
you.
all.
you still got a game you enjoyed out of it.
Every
True.
action sends ripples
Um,
across the galaxy.
And I'm ready
Every
for the new,
idea must
newest
touch another
version.
mind to live.
Ooh, I'm ready to see if
Each
it's shitty or
emotion
not.
must mark
Yeah.
another's.
So one
We
thing
are
we can
all
kind of do
connected.
now is
Every living being
talk about whether our
united in
opinions had changed. So
single
I opened up by
glorious
saying I gave
existence.
this game a 5 out of 10.
Yourself,
It was
the
average. It's not
universe.
like I wouldn't play it again,
Embrace
and I made my
eternity.
points. I think my opinion has largely stayed the same. I'd like to play it again, but not, or I'd like to continue playing through it, but not because I'm immensely enjoying it and I thought I was wrong and it's really good. It's just I want to experience this game that's supposed to be good. And being older, it's easier for me to keep going with the promise of it being good than it was when I was a kid.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think I'd still give it a 5 out of 10, maybe bump it up to a 6. I think some of the stuff I had early was maybe a little unfair. The control point is a little unfair. Trophy is a little unfair, but yeah, I mean, there's other issues that I notice now, and so it largely stays the same.
I have given you the cipher. Just
For
as it was
me,
given to Sarah. The
I'd probably
ancestral
give it an
memories of the
8
Protheans are part of
at the
you now.
time, just
Are
an
you
8
a
out of
Shepherd?
10. Just
What
yeah, it's
should
pretty, pretty good. And now
I
my
saw
my score has
something.
changed. It has become a
It
4
still
out of
didn't make
5.
any sense.
You have been given a great
That's-
gift. The experience of an
That's
entire
not
people.
different
It
at
will
all.
take
And that's
time
because
for
I
the
wouldn't
mind to
lower it to a
process this
7
information.
out of a
You look a
7 out
little
of 10.
queasy.
But it's
You
not
should get
quite a
back to
perfect
bed.
5 out of 7 either.
I'm sorry
Right,
you have suffered,
naturally.
but there was
Yeah.
no other way.
So your score has,
You needed the
it's gone
cipher.
down a bit.
In time, it will help you
I w-
understand the
yeah, I
physics
mean, if
of
I
the
really
world.
had to,
Now that you're
it's
free
it's
of the
not
Forge,
as enjoyable,
planning to
but
do
I think
next?
that's mostly
allow
just
it,
due to the
I
fact
would like to stay
that
here
it
with
is
the
an
colonists.
RPG, and
They have
RPGs
suffered
are
greatly
kind of,
and I've
even
played a
with
role
the
in their suffering.
replayability of all these different
would like to
characters,
be
all
the
these
best.
different,
The colonists will need all the help they
you
can
know,
get.
viewpoints that you
They'll be
can kind
happy
of
to have you
do
on
and
their side.
see and who you
Thank you,
choose.
Commander.
With all of
May
that
fortune
considered,
smile upon you.
because I do care about those
You did
broad
it.
strokes of the
With the
story,
Thorian gone, we can
it's
start
very,
rebuilding
very
for
difficult for me to
ourselves
go
again.
back to any game
And
and
we're
play
free
it
of
through
Exogenes'
twice.
threats.
Yeah.
In fact,
We're
I would say
back to being
almost
just a little nowhere
impossible.
colony.
I think the
Thank you,
farthest I've
Commander.
ever gone in a game, I can't even think of. Maybe, no, I can't think of any game that I've really gone back that had a story and just continually played for more than maybe 150 hours.
You've never played any game over 150 hours?
Not any single player game.
Wow.
Yeah, I just, once the broad strokes are there for me, there's not much making me want to go back to the game.
Wow, that's interesting because I am very much not that way.
You're like, I want to experience what this character's detail, like if there's a spoiler. No, I don't
Well,
know.
no, not necessarily that, but I've replayed games that I have no options for, or you know, less options for. Like I've played Kingdom Hearts through so many times.
I've tried to with the 1.5 and 2.5, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't bring myself to do it.
But yeah, I mean, if that's all we got to say, we can wrap this up.
That sounds magnificent.
Okay,
Would you
so
like to try playing the new map?
I never
of
thought I would be
Counter-Strike.
so
Yeah, we
thrilled
can
to
do
see a soldier.
anyway, thanks for watching, guys.
give
This
my
is one of
feelings back.
3 new
Under
shows that we're
Thorian's
doing.
influence,
You cut
every
out
thought
for
was
me.
examined,
Oh, okay,
filtered.
sorry. Thanks for watching,
What will
guys.
you do
This is
now
one
the
of
fight
3
is
new
over?
shows that we're
I
doing,
will
actually.
stay, try to recover my
All right.
losses.
Microphone,
I can have new
please.
supplies delivered.
This is one of 3 new shows that we're doing, and the podcast will continue to be uploaded. I think I'm going to move it to Tuesdays. Is that what I said?
Sometime.
Yeah, move it to like Tuesdays, and these shows will go up alternating between the 3 of them, going on Fridays, hopefully, maybe Saturdays. And the idea is, I think we're going to do Encountered every time it's available, right? And then alternate between the other 2.
Yeah.
So
That
Encountered.
sounds. That sounds like it would give me an erection. Yes.
Okay, good. Encountered is going to be a show where we play new games. So actually, that'll be the next off video after this one, and we'll be playing Mass Effect Andromeda, which is the point of doing this video. This one obviously is counterattack, and the other one is re-encountered, where we'd be visiting games that we didn't have strong opinions about, or even games that maybe we didn't necessarily play, and sort of re-encountering the
Stand
era.
by. Short
Basically, yeah,
range.
it'll be old games,
Contamination in progress.
but not necessarily the old. It doesn't have to be old era. It can be old. It can be even older games.
Oh
Back in.
There seems to be something has
Thanks
gone
for shooting me up.
terribly wrong.
It can even be games
Did
from
you
me.
just hit your head on the microphone?
No, it was a bottle of root beer falling over.
Hurry, we don't have much time.
It's all over your pants. Pick that up.
No, it was empty. But actually, we were talking about launching another show, weren't we?
I don't know, something.
What was I don't remember the one for exclusively older games. I can't
Yeah.
remember the name of it now. The one where you want to play fucking Harvester.
Something. Yeah, that would. I want to play Harvester. Let's play Harvester.
It's like counter
I want you to
traditional or
stream
something.
Harvester. Yes, I want you to play Harvester and then just stream it. That I think that should be the video.
But anyway,
Stream it to me and then make a video out of that.
Sure. Anyway, new shows coming out. Hopefully every Friday or Saturday, depending on our work schedules and stuff like that.
New shows, new experiences, only on Counterpoint.
And hopefully, quite soon, we'll have channel art as well. So that'll be nice.
Maybe other art if I decide to
The
paint
data
or draw.
transferred into the
Well,
commander's
we'll
mind
see.
is incomplete.
Depends on how much you suck at it.
You must have seen something.
Terrible.
I
But again,
want
thanks
to
for watching.
interpret the data
And
related to
see you
your
next time.
What was there at least?
Enjoy.
But something
Bye.
was missing.